Acura is continuing their forward march into the full electrification space, and this started out, of course, with the all-new ZDX last year. However, today we're at the Quail for Monterey Car Week, and this right here is the Acura Performance EV concept. Let's take a first look. So unlike the Acura ZDX, which we already had a chance to drive, this vehicle here is designed to be their next chapter, and this is built off of a fully dedicated battery electric platform that Honda and Acura are going to share. This will be built in Ohio at their new EV factory, and Acura says this model is going to essentially showcase and preview their next model. Now, as you can see from the design, this is still technically just a concept vehicle, but if you guys have followed Acura vehicles before, their concepts tend to be pretty close to production. You can see the front end of this car looks very low and wide. You can see there are a couple of new styling elements here. First of all, when I look at this thing, it kind of reminds me, I hate to say, of a Buick. There's definitely a lot of styling elements here from the divorced LED daytime running light. You're going to find no headlights in this little area here. Instead, there'll just be kind of like an intake, air intake manifold here. And overall, as you can see, this color is called Moonlit White Metallic. It looks really great with the white accents. You can see it kind of reminds me again of a lot of other performance EVs, kind of like what Lotus has done with the Electra. There's also a really interesting Acura logo here, which I believe this actually illuminates. It's kind of like a clear glass design with, again, some fake intake and some real intakes. Now, obviously, this is still just a shell, so I can't pop the hood or show you guys all the interior and stuff, but overall, I think the design definitely screams like production-ready concept, but at the same time, there are a couple of elements here that's going to make it seem like it's not quite ready for prime time. But move around the side profile, if you want to follow me over here, let's go ahead and talk about the dimensions of this vehicle. Now, Acura wasn't ready to talk about the overall size yet, but they did say that this car should be a mid-size two-row vehicle, and if that sounds familiar, that's because that's what the ZDX technically is as well. But Acura is basically saying this should be a smaller vehicle when it comes to market. You can see this concept has these massive 23-inch wheels. That's right, it's a 23-inch wheel riding on a 295 by 35 R23 tire. So obviously, for the production version, I'm expecting this to eventually get a little bit smaller, maybe like a 20-inch wheel. But you can see it's got big brakes behind it, clamped down by 6-piston calipers. I also really appreciate the gloss black along the wheel arch trim. It looks really good with the moonlit white exterior. This is kind of like a blend of a matte finish with a glossy finish paint. That's what Acura says. You can see, being a concept, it just has these integrated cameras here for side mirrors. That's technically not street legal here in the US yet, although I really think they should make it street legal. And as you can see, the silhouette of this car is all like coupe SUV. It's got an all black roof design. In fact, it's probably a glass panel roof. I wouldn't be surprised to see that make it to production for the production car. There's obviously no door handles here. I expect the production car to also have perhaps some retractable door handles as well. And then you can see it's got that Sportback swept coupe look back here, which I think actually looks really nice. The rear of the car, actually, when I saw it, kind of reminded me a little bit of maybe like an Aston Martin. It has really nice design cues. It's got this Acura spelled out the back with the typical LED light bar that goes across the rear of the vehicle. It's got some fake and functional vents, of course. The rear diffuser down here is a little bit more aggressive, but overall, I think that this is still, again, just a design study, but don't be surprised because Acura says this model should be going into production by the end of next year. So obviously, I wish I could have shown you guys an interior. Again, this is still a very early concept car, but if you guys are looking to get your hands on something like this, Acura did confirm that a production version of the Performance EV concept will be coming out sometime at the end of 2025, so expect it to be a 2026 model year. And it's really going to be interesting in terms of the positioning, because the ZDX obviously was the brand's first forte into the all-electric space, but that vehicle was built off of GM's Ultium platform. It was kind of like a stopgap. This car is meant to be, again, their dedicated EV. Honda will eventually get their own version as well, but Acura did say that this will come out before the Honda EV based off of this platform. And in terms of, range, obviously, I would hope that Acura is going to do something with at least 300 miles of range. Expect it to have either probably rear-wheel drive or dual-motor all-wheel drive. We have no idea about power, but the ZDX has between 340 to 500 horsepower. So depending on the positioning, I would estimate this car should have maybe a little bit less horsepower than the ZDX, because again, I think this car is going to slot below the ZDX and compete with something like the Tesla Model Y. As you guys know, that segment is like the fiercest segment of EVs. It's the one that tends to be the best-selling EVs, and Acura desperately needs a vehicle like that. But let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of the design of this car. Should Acura basically keep it exactly the same as the concept when it goes to production, or should they make a few changes? I personally think that it's certainly a very bold move for Acura, but I do think that the front end kind of reminds me a little bit of Buick. Styling is always subjective. I'll be curious to know what the pricing will end up being. The current ZDX is around 64 grand. I would estimate when this car comes out, it should come in at under $50,000. $100,000. They really need something like that that's more affordable, that's smaller, that also can go well over 300 miles. So only time will tell, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing the future of Acura's EV lineup. And it's going to, again, start with this vehicle being Chapter 2. But for Redline Reviews here at the Quail for Monterey Car Week, I'm So-Hyun Bae.